Everybody, welcome back. Dr. Kristen Lloyd with Bariatric Mindset, author of Bariatric Mindset Success and Release Your Regain. I'm so excited that you're here for video 5 of my Back on Track series. And I'm going to quickly review some things that we've talked about. Stress and sleep, important factors in your weight loss journey. So check in on those. Mastering your basics is very, very, very important. What are the basics? Protein first, making sure that you're getting enough protein. And again, highly suggest you sign up for my Mindset Behind Your Macros mini course. It's totally free, 4-week course that you can access. The link is below, so please sign up for it. It's going to tell you why your basics are important. And this was a course that I researched. A lot of the info that I got was directly from the ASMBS, Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins, Cleveland Clinic. So resourced information, right? About your basics: protein, water, movement, supplements, right? And sleep, right? Making sure that you're getting enough protein, making sure that you're drinking your water, making sure that you're moving your body, making sure that you're taking your supplements, and of course, making sure that you are getting adequate sleep. It's also important that you are getting vegetables and fiber and all of those things. But that's not what has historically been listed as your basics. So when we're talking about getting back on track, there's a couple more things that I wanted to talk to you about today. So yes, there is the idea of meal prep, planning ahead, prioritizing, making you a priority in your day and your week, and also looking at how you fit you in your schedule. So how do you prioritize you and your wellness journey? So where do you put that? Are you an afterthought or are you a priority? So that's a key indicator. That is also part of this back on track ideology. It is important that you prioritize yourself. Now, that does not mean that you're working on yourself 8 hours a day, but that does mean that you are really prioritizing your nutrition, that you're prioritizing how and when you're moving your body, you're prioritizing or doing your best to get yourself in bed on time, that you're prioritizing getting your water in, et cetera, making sure that you're getting your supplements, making sure that you've had your labs drawn recently to ensure that that your supplements and your levels are where they need to be. So that's another thing, making sure that you're attending any follow-up appointments that you need to make. Very, very important. So other things are your mental and emotional health, right? So have you gone through anything lately that may have caused you to get off track? And I have talked about this intermittently in the last couple of videos. But if you're going through a really rough time and you're judging yourself harshly for being off track, consider what you might be going through or have been going through in the last 18 months, right? So at the time that I'm recording this video, it's later in 2021. However, there are still people struggling with issues from the pandemic that had started in 2020. So start to look at what's happening in your life, what stressors you have, and how might that be impacting your on track and your journey. And that's not an excuse, but I would ask you to look at how you can take small steps and make small changes towards getting back on track. And like I've said in previous videos, you may want to create a life switch and do this whole life altering, like, ta-da, here I am. And that's just not how behavior change works. You can get way too overwhelmed with doing too much too soon, and then you burn out. And then it's not good because then you're really off track. So please, please, please start small in a way that is realistic for you. So it could be literally 5 to 10 minutes of movement a day. It could be where you spend time, you get the already chopped onions from the freezer section that you are making crock pot meals so that you put them in before you go to work in the morning and they're ready when you get home. You're doing things that work for you instead of against you. So very, very important that you do start to think ahead about these things. And I've met many people who have worked 12-hour days, have kids, have busy lives, that can find ways to make things work, right? So there's always a way to make things work. And I would ask you to also look at your excuses. How can you challenge your excuses? And so there are folks that have excuses or committed to their excuses. And I'm sure that you've heard the phrase, right? You're committed to your excuses or you're committed to getting results. And I do realize, that there are caveats where there are people who have chronic illness or issues. And I would still ask where you can do small things to support your health journey. It may not look the same for somebody who doesn't have those issues, right? And still, I'm going to ask you to look at what you can do with what you have, right? So there is no straight across the board one size fits all. And that's part of how I run my practice with my clients. Is there is no one size fits all. And in the bariatric world, there is no one size fits all because no one is the same. So it's very important that you look at how things may work for you and how you can tweak and adjust them to work for you and for your benefit and for your health and for your mindset, your mental health. So looking at your emotional needs, maybe a time to get into therapy, maybe a time to, access some additional support. What does that look like for you? What do you need? And be open to that, right? You may see in the next few months, I'm going to be offering some different digital courses that are also offering a deeper level of support. So keep your eyes peeled for those as well, if that's something that interests you, because I also know that in our community, there's some people who love stuff in person, and there's some people who really love this online connectedness. And so I would just suggest that you do what's best for you and that you find the avenues that resonate with you the most. The thing that's also very important that you recognize in terms of back on track is that you are not failing, right? So if you take time off, if you start moving in another direction, you always have the opportunity to come back, right? And to move in the direction that you want. So I would ask you to revisit your why. So I talk about this more in Bariatric Mindset Success. And if you haven't gotten that book yet, again, highly recommend it. There are tons and tons and tons of tools in there. All of chapter 6 and 7 are tools and teaching you how to work through emotional eating. So if you're an emotional eater, get Bariatric Mindset Success, because I talk a lot about that in chapter 6 and 7 and give you tons of tools to work through that. With that said, though, it is also important that you look at what is your why? Why did you start this journey? What is it that you want to get from losing weight, from getting to goal? What is it that you want from your life? And I keep doing this because we need to kind of flex that why. We need to get super clear on why we want that, right? Because when we're going through the trenches day in, day out, going, this is hard, we need to remember what it is that we want so that the day to day can get easier. And if we are too reliant on food for our emotional needs, we've got to pivot. We need to find some support, some help, because that typically gets worse, not better. So we need tools, techniques, support, could be therapy, coaching, and there may be some nutrition help and to teach you how to eat better, have more nutritionally sound foods, and yet you can still learn how to get the foods that taste good. However, if you're emotionally reliant on food for comfort or all of your pleasure, there are some deep seated emotional needs there that are not being met. Or there might be something else going on beneath the surface that you need to address. So, highly, highly recommend that you take a look at that for yourself because that could be impacting your back on track status. So, as you look at these various things, I'm providing here a lot of information for you to kind of dig into the mindset because it isn't as simple as hand me a meal plan. Here you go. Eat chicken for lunch and broccoli for dinner. Because if we could actually follow through with that, we would have a lot of us wouldn't have issues, right? But it goes far deeper than that. It goes deeper than the broccoli and the chicken and what you're eating for breakfast and what you're eating for lunch. It's why you're eating, right? It's why and the temptations and the urges and the attraction and the connection and all of those things and the stress and the relationships and the frustration and all of those other things that intertwined that potentially impact our relationship with food. So I um I'm asking you to take a look at that. I'm asking you to take a deeper look at your relationship with food and how you use food in your life, right? All of us need to eat to live. It's part of life. And some of us use food in different ways to cope, to soothe, to comfort. And so it may go much deeper. So when it comes to back on track, how are you using food? How are you committed to using food in the future? Again, we all have to live, right? And in what ways are you willing to pivot, learn differently, get support, etc., when it comes to being back on track? And back on track also does not mean that um, that things are being taken away from you. You can be on track and eat yummy foods. You can, because I eat yummy foods all the time and I'm on track. You can eat foods that you like. You can enjoy the foods and you can live healthy. I am evidence that it is possible. And I have many clients that are evidence that it is possible. So I would challenge you or ask you to look at how you might be using food inappropriately to cope with other things, to deal with other things. And again, I've provided a couple different options, resources, books, mini course, other courses that are coming out soon if you want to dig deeper in these things with me, right? So I have tons of resources and experience in this. It is for you to address, however, and for you to start to look a little deeper at maybe something that you might not want to look at, right? Or some people don't, and some people are like, yes, I'm ready to address this. And so I'm giving you the opportunity through this video to look at what stressors, issues may be impacting your relationship with food by just having you inquire. Inquire to yourself about food, about what times of day you typically go off track, right? Or if you're completely off track, what it takes for you to be committed to yourself for a week, for a day, for a couple days, right? And to also remind you to shift out of this whole I'm totally on track, I'm totally off track. I'm totally on track, I'm totally off track, right? So one of the other things I'll share with you today is something that I talk about again in Release Your Regain, which is the idea of the concept of 80-20. where if you are achieving 80% of on track, you're doing fantastic. That's exactly where you need to be, because attempting to be in an all or nothing paradigm is exhausting and fatalistic because none of us are able to achieve perfection. And the idea that we might or can is actually what's causing more harm. So, if you're going to attempt anything, please try to attempt the 80/20. 80% on plan, 20% for splurges and off track eating, right? So, try to eat on plan, healthy, whole foods, things that are going to support your nutrition, your taste buds, your lifestyle 80% of the time. And honestly, that's a lot more realistic. So if you can work on that and flex your follow through, practicing consistency from what I talked about a couple days ago, you're going to be doing fantastic. So compassion is key. Be kind to yourself, be accountable, but be kind. And this is very important for your growth. So I want to note, I didn't give you a plan. I didn't tell you to eat chicken for lunch and tuna for dinner and any of those things purposefully, because I want to provide you with autonomy. I want to provide you with choices for you to make decisions for yourself. So many of us are told what to do all the time. And so I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm here to give you guidance to put you back in control, to put you back in the driver's seat so that you can succeed trusting your own decisions. And that is what Back on Track is all about. So I hope you've enjoyed this little mini series of Back on Track. Um, Again, lots of different resources. Make sure that you sign up for the Mindset Behind Your Macros series. That puts you on my email list to be the first to know when I have anything coming out. And if you haven't already read Release Your Regain or Bariatric Mindset Success, please be sure to get a copy of those. They're available on Amazon. So I'm so grateful that you have watched this series, and I hope that it's benefited you. Please like, share, comment below. I'm sending you a lot of love and wishing you the best on your journey. See you next time.